students. Today's class will be on the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is one of the important endocrine glands that is going to monitor the entire metabolic activities in the body. So today's learning objective will be, at the end of the class you will be able to know about the dimensions of the gland, the capsules covering it, the relations, the blood supply of the gland, venous drainage, nerve supply and its applied anatomy. So first, thyroid is an endocrine gland which is situated in the lower part and in the front of the neck. It is regulating the basal metabolic rate, what we call it as BMR, which stimulates somatic and psychic growth and plays an important role in calcium metabolism. So the gland consists of two lobes, one is the right lobe and another is the left lobe, that are joined together by the means of an isthmus, which we call it as a joining tissue. So this is one right lobe and this is one left lobe, and both of them are joined together by an isthmus. You also find another lobe called accessory lobe, which is seen over the isthmus. Sometimes a fibrous muscular band has a a band called levator glandulae thyroid. Thyroid gland. The small triangular projection of we see situation. So the gland is lying over the vertebrae opposite to C5, C6, C7 and T1, and it embraces the trachea. So it is a gland exactly located over the trachea, and this is the pyramidal lobe that we see in the junction of both the right lobe and left lobe over the isthmus. The lobe extends in the middle of the thyroid cartilage from the fourth to fifth tracheal rings. So to exactly measure the fourth and fifth tracheal ring, when we count and go within the thyroid cartilage, you will be able to encounter the thyroid gland. So the isthmus extends from second to fourth tracheal rings, or it may extend between fourth to the tracheal cartilage is between fourth to fifth tracheal ring, while the gland exactly is seen within the tracheal cartilage. So it is extending from second to fourth tracheal ring. Each lobe measures around 5.5 centimeter into 2.5 centimeter. The isthmus measures about 1.2 centimeter into 1.2 centimeter. On an average, the gland weighs around 25 grams. It is larger in female than in male, and further increase occurs during pregnancy. The thyroid gland is responsible for, it is also responsible not only for the basal metabolic rate, but also for the calcium metabolism. In pregnancy and lactation, the calcium demand for the female increases. Hence, the gland also is supposed to increase in size when compared to the male. The thyroid is covered by two different capsules. One is a true capsule, another is a false capsule. The true capsule is a peripheral condensation of the connective tissue around the gland, and the false capsule is derived from the pretracheal fascia, which covers the gland, and it is one of the deep. It's a layer of the investing layer of deep cervical fascia. A densely capillary plexus is seen deep to the true capsule, and the venous plexus lies between the two capsules of the gland. The capillary plexus, which is seen deep to the true capsule, is intactly present over the lobes of the gland, and it is providing rich vascular or blood supply to the gland. The venous plexus, which is seen between both the layers of the capsules, the true capsule and the false capsule, is responsible for the venous drainage of the gland. Relation. The lobe is usually conical in shape, hence it has an apex and the medial surface is always related with the trachea and the esophagus, and the two muscles that are related with the gland is the inferior cryoconstrictor and the cricothyroid muscle. The two nerves which are very close, which include thyroid gland. This is a cross-sectional view of the thyroid gland wherein we are able to see the thyroid gland on the cross-section. This is the trachea and this is the esophagus. On the either side on the cross-section, what we see here will be the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is very closely seen to the thyroid gland. It is held together by the means of the ligament of Berry, and you also find two layers of capsules surrounding the gland. One is the true capsule and another is a false capsule. The muscles which are seen very in close proximity with the thyroid gland include the sternothyroid, the superior belly of omohyoid, and the sternothyrohyoid. So there are various muscles seen at the distance, like the sternocleidomastoid, which is a larger muscle forming the lateral boundaries of the neck. And behind the thyroid gland, you also get the cross section of the carotid sheath. The carotid sheath consists of the common carotid vessel, the internal jugular vein, and the vagus nerve, together enclosed in the carotid sheath. And this is slightly located posterior to the thyroid gland. So behind the posterior part of the lobe of the thyroid gland. And along with the thyroid gland, you also find another gland called parathyroid. The parathyroid is usually seen within the lobes of the thyroid, and it is also playing a very important role in calcium metabolism by the production of a hormone called prothormone. The prothormone plays the major role in conversion of the calcium into the the absorbable state, and it helps in the maintenance of the calcium homeostasis in the blood levels, so that the bone health is maintained and the calcium mineral homeostasis is maintained in the blood levels. The isthmus connects the lower parts of the two lobes, and there are two surfaces, as I said, to the isthmus also. There is an anterior surface and a posterior surface. There are two borders, a superior border and an inferior border. So the isthmus is sometimes absent also, and this may be agenesis, or it is it could be it disappears because of its when the gland is smaller in size, the isthmus is not very distinguishable. So the inferior surface is covered by the sternohyoid and the sternothyroid muscles, anterior jugular veins, fascia, and the skin. So when I cut open the skin, I go into the fascia. The fascia will be the deep fascia, because superficial fascia is very thin in the neck, and when we go into the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, we start to reflect the pretracheal fascia. We will encounter the gland. So the pretracheal fascia is supposed to be the connective tissue covering and forms a false capsule. So, and you also have a true capsule which is tightly intact with the gland, and which also involves a plexus of blood capillaries that provide rich vascular supply to the gland. Posterior surface is related to the second and fourth tracheal rings, and the upper border is related to the anastomosis between the right and the left superior arteries. The lower border of the thyroid gland is related with the inferior thyroid vein. The arterial supply, the gland receives its arterial supply from the superior thyroid artery and the inferior thyroid artery. Superior thyroid artery is a branch of external carotid artery, and the inferior thyroid artery is a branch of a thyrocervical trunk. Sometimes there is another artery called thyroidea intima, which is a direct branch from the brachiocephalic trunk, and it can be sometimes it could be a direct branch from arch of aorta as well, and it will provide blood supply to the isthmus area of the gland. So arteria thyroidea ima needs to be very carefully ligated when a thyroidectomy is done, because it can be a direct branch from arch of aorta sometimes, which need to be ligated carefully and removed before the thyroidectomy surgeries. So this is the anterior view of the thyroid gland, where you can find an anterior lobe and you have a right lobe and a left lobe. This is the anterior surface, and this area joining both the lobes is the isthmus. This is the pyramidal lobe, which may be present, or it can also be called as accessory lobe. And then you also find the plexus of arteries and veins closely packed along the walls of the gland, and this is exactly seen over the second to fourth tracheal rings. Okay, so this is the thyroid cartilage which is seen, and this is the hyoid bone which is located well above the thyroid cartilage. So this is exactly located over the trachea. And on either sides you get the common carotid vessels, the internal jugular vein, the vagus nerve, the contents of the carotid sheath behind the thyroid gland. Okay, so you can also find the important vessels like the superior thyroid artery, which is a branch from the external carotid artery directly, the inferior thyroid artery, which is a direct branch from the thyrocervical trunk, which in turn is a branch of the subclavian vessels, And you do find the presence of the middle thyroid vein, superior thyroid vein, and inferior thyroid vein, which is draining into the internal jugular vein, and venous blood is thereby taken to the SVC for purification. The superior thyroid vein, inferior thyroid vein, and the middle thyroid vein are the draining directly into the internal jugular vein, and you also find the fourth thyroid vein sometimes, which is actually a kind of variation, but still it may be present and it is not pathological. So the lymphatic drainage, the thyroid gland has lymph nodes draining itself, the deep cervical lymph nodes and the pretracheal paratracheal nodes taking the lymphatic drainage from the thyroid gland. The nerves that are supplying the gland will be the middle cervical ganglion, superior and the inferior cervical ganglions. The main important clinical aspect with thyroid gland is it is a gland that produces an hormone called thyroxine. Thyroxine exists itself in two forms, like it is triiodothyronine and the tetraiodothyronine. So triiodothyronine and the tetrahydrothyronine, when it is produced in lesser quantity, we call it hypothyroidism, and when it is produced in excess, we call it hyperthyroidism. So the condition when there is a hyperthyroidism, usually the gland increases in size, leading to something called thyrotoxicosis. Thyrotoxicosis means increased production of thyroxine gland and later on leading to toxicity. So this is always called as a condition called goiter. Goiter is a tumor involving the thyroid gland, and this can be very well distinguished or when we see the patient swallowing, the gland is seen moving upward and downward, whereby we can identify the gland being it is swollen than the usual size, and the goiter needs to be removed before it really goes into toxicosis. So the removal of thyroid gland itself is done along with the goiter tumor that is appearing over the gland, and that we call it as thyroidectomy. The thyroidectomy is the treatment for the excessive hyperthyroidism, okay, and thyrotoxicosis. So there is also an autoimmune condition involving the hyperthyroidism, what we call it as the Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disorder, and later we also have something called hypoparathyroidism, which is decreased production of the thyroid gland. When it is in infants, we call it cretinism, and in adults, when hypothyroidism, it is called myxedema. So the injury to this usually occurs whenever thyroidectomy is done, removal of thyroid gland is done. The recurrent laryngeal nerve, which is seen in very close proximity of the thyroid gland, is damaged, leading to loss of voice or loss of phonation. The patient will not be able to speak, and difference in the voice also. So this has to be very carefully dealt with when thyroidectomy is done surgically. And the symptoms include hoarseness, temporary aphonic voice, and pressure symptoms over the gland. So the injury to the external laryngeal nerves, like the monotonous voice, cricothyroid muscle is unable to vary in its length and tension, which leads to a kind of difference in the voice, which needs investigations to rule out whether the thyroid gland is involved. And the precautions that has to be taken over is superior thyroid artery needs to be ligated before we go in for partial or some complete thyroidectomy. And the superior thyroid artery, inferior thyroid artery needs to be ligated before surgery procedure before it is done. So at the time of thyroid cancer, this is another applied anatomy. Other than goiter, other than the benign tumors, if there is a carcinomatous change over the thyroid gland, there can also be a compression of the esophagus and the trachea, recurrent laryngeal nerve, because of the increased size of the thyroid gland, which warrants immediate removal of the gland. Otherwise, it may lead to life-threatening conditions. The hypothyroidism is a very prominent, condition. Wherein, see, this is the face of a lady with a goiter, with an excessive or enlarged thyroid gland, and this is a patient with cretinism, wherein an infant with hypothyroidism is called the condition is said to be cretinism. The baby suffering from cretinism will usually have a short stout face and appears to be suffering from some type of a mental disorder. So this is usually associated with some syndromes and needs to be immediately treated. So coming to another condition called thyroglossal fistula. The thyroid gland is usually developed from a diverticulum which is seen in the tongue in the fetal life. So whenever the thyroid gland remains as congenital without descending itself from the tongue area to the neck. Developmentally, when thyroid gland developed, it started to develop from a diverticulum at the foramen cecum present in the tongue. Okay, so from the tongue only it descended to the neck and it came to lie over the trachea in the fetal life. So instead of descending down into the neck, if the thyroid gland remains over the tongue itself, then it can lead to a small passage which is patent and it is kept open, and it can this condition is called as the thyroglossal fistula. It usually allows infection and inadequate removal of the thyroglossal cyst. So there can be a congenital cystic development in the thyroglossal region, which leads to a condition called thyroglossal cyst. The thyroglossal cyst needs to be removed. Okay, and along with the thyroglossal cyst, the thyroglossal fistula also, if it is present, needs to be removed. The treatment is usually Systrom's operation, in which the glossal cyst has to be removed and the fistula need to be completely covered and sutured. So the benign tumors may displace the gland. It may compress the neighboring carotid sheath, recurrent laryngeal nerve, and trachea. Pressure symptoms over the nerve involves common in carcinoma. Usually, the voice is lost and the recurrent laryngeal nerve is damaged whenever the carcinoma of the of the thyroid gland produces pressure over the recurrent laryngeal nerve. The structure of the functional unit, the microstructure of the thyroid gland or the histological structure. The thyroid is a secretory gland, so it is having follicles, and they are responsible for the secretion of T3 and T4. Irregular spheroidal structures consisting of a single layer of cuboidal epithelium and basement membrane, which are variable in size, and they are scattered in, and they have a number of cells called clear cells. Along with clear cells, you also have something called parafollicular cells. The parafollicular cells can otherwise be called as C cells, and they are helpful in secretion of a hormone called calcitonin. So the calcitonin plays a very important role in calcium metabolism and absorption. Gland is enveloped by an outer capsule by a loose areolar supporting connective tissue and an inner fibroelastic capsule. The fine collagenous septa that is extending within the gland, dividing it into lobules, may convey blood supply, lymphatics, and nerves also to the gland. The colloid, which is secretory product of the follicular cells, will also produce proteinaceous substance composed of thyroid hormone linked together with a protein called thyroglobulin. So the hormone, when it is tagged with a protein, we call it thyroglobulin. So the globulin is the protein which is getting attached with the thyroid gland, and it is a colloid secretory product of all the follicular cells. So histologically, when a section is taken and stained with eosin and hematoxylin, you find the thyroid follicles as circular follicles, and the purplish condensation seen within every follicle is the colloid secreted by the thyroid gland. This colloid only later on produces the T3 and T4. First, the initial formation is in tagging itself with a protein. Then, it subsequently the iodine molecules are added to it, and it is getting changed into T3 and T4. So this is a short, brief description of its development also. This is a cross section in which the four pharyngeal arteries are very clearly shown to you. And once the pharyngeal arteries are completely developed, you tend to see the development of the foramen cecum. And this is the period where the oral cavity development has also started, stomatidial development. And later you also find the presence of the thyroglossal cyst has developed, and from there it is developing into a long organ, and once it is descended down from the foramen cecal area in the tongue, it is descended over the neck and it is coming to lie below the hyoid bone. So that's how the thyroid, which was formed almost on the surface of the tongue at the level of foramen cecum, descended down into the neck below the hyoid bone within the thyroid cartilage. So formation is on the tongue level. Later on, it descended itself below to the neck. So this is the formation of the foramen cecum and the endodermal thickening, the thyroglossal duct and the cyst, presence of the developing thyroglossal duct. This is the formation of the tuberculum impar of the tongue and the foramen cecal area. So from here it has descended down below the hyoid bone and within the thyroid cartilage, and later on it has developed into a gland within the thyroid cartilage. So basically, if the thyroid gland is not present in its normal position, if it is present in the neck or in the level of the tongue itself, we call it ectopic thyroid gland. This is because improper, development and improper transition of its place from tongue to the neck leads to ectopic thyroid tissue, which requires surgical intervention in order to reposition it. So this can also happen because of the congenital anomalies and defects. So thank you so much. You can always put up your questions on the comment section, and you can also give your feedback on the comment section. A questionnaire will be posted to you by WhatsApp. You are requested to fill up the questionnaire with the right answers and answer me back. Based on the responses, the attendance will be calculated. Thank you.